Hello everyone, welcome back to another video about a children's trading card game. It has been some time, so I'm going to spend the first little bit of this video explaining what the hell is going on and why I've been absent. That looks like a mess. It's actually quite neat. So, where have I been? Well, real life has been a bit of a bitch. For those of you who don't know, I'm currently working on getting a job. And I had a slew of schoolwork plus interviews and stuff all in one massive period, so I had absolutely zero time for anything else. So that's essentially what I was doing. But I am back now, and today, before I just want to let you know, I'll be doing the set review for set 3 starting soon. I know some people have been waiting for that, so it's coming. I would have really liked to have done more IRL testing before I made that, but my cards still aren't here. So, we make do and we move. However, I am going to be talking about one card in particular, and I really do think it deserves his own dedicated video, because this card has been, I'm absolutely guilty of it, but not just me, the Japanese player base, the English player base, everyone of them are. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about this guy. Boom. Did I put it there? I don't know if I could be bothered to put it there. Lucifer, the Lightbringer, is not that good.
What?
I said it. I said it. What are you talking about? Okay, let's begin this discussion. So, for those of you who somehow are living under what kind of rock you're living under to not know what Lucifer the Lightbringer does, it's a superior rare level 4 unit. You can play at discount for 2 cost, and it says when it enters the field, you deal 5 damage to all units, and that damage cannot be reduced. One thing to note is that it can also enhance an owl or a Regenleaf to give itself charge shield, which would let it survive that 5 damage it does to everything, because otherwise it will kill itself as well. And it also has a DR to untap energy, which is irrelevant most of the time. Okay, so this card, on paper, we all read this and went, right, so this is absolutely ridiculous. However, in my testing and in my experience and in the experience of others, it's actually not been the instant 4 of in every deck that we all expected it to be. Because, 2 cost, board wipe, at counter speed, you might expect to be quite good. However, it turns out there are actually a lot of factors associated with that means the card is not as good as it seems. How best to do this? Well, I think what I'm going to do to explain this point of view is go through each ruler it could be used in, reasonably, and basically explain why it's kind of bad, with one real exception, 1.5 exceptions. So, let's begin. Firstly, we'll start with Knight. Okay, so Knight. What is special about Knight? Well, it has a 4-card starting hand, so you're more likely to be able to draw into your Lucifer. It has 3 energy, and you can untap your energy at will. Cool. What's the problem? Well, when you consider how Knight has always been played, and you sort of analyse the best ways in which to make use of Knight, you realise that almost all of the time when you're playing the deck, you're not going to have 2 available energy. You're going to have 1 a lot of the time, and a lot of the time that's because you'll be spending 2 cost for something, playing a 0 cost, maybe an untap, and then playing something else for 2, or you'll be playing a 2 and a 0, or you'll be playing 2 1s. Very rarely do you play 3s, and the reason for that in Knight is if you're including level 3s in your deck, you kind of have to understand that that's like you're going to get maybe one of those a game on it, like realistically, because like unless you're playing a lot of energy untappers, then that's like you're realistically not going to be able to untap that other energy, right? Like there are some ways, some counters and stuff like that, but like if you're not playing a significant number of energy untappers and you're not like holding them for that purpose, then you're not necessarily going to be able to actually take advantage of that level 3 and be able to do another one later. Another thing to keep in mind is it more effective to play a level 3 and a level 0, or to play a level 2, a level 0 that untaps, and then another level 2, right? So already you're kind of disincentivized from playing level 3s. Why am I bringing this up? Lucifer's a level 2. Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is so you understand that the sort of flow of how Knight has always been played and continues to be played to this day is you are typically on 0 or 1 energy at the end of your turn. In order to take advantage of Lucifer, Lucifer on your turn sucks. Lucifer on your turn is like, oh, what the fuck is the point of this, right? Lucifer on your opponent's turn is insane. And Knight, unfortunately, currently does not have the resource capabilities to actually really take advantage of that. Now, if Knight, in particular Knight, like it was restricted or something, but whatever it is, got a way to always untap 1 at least on the opponent's turn. It really does sound like I'm talking about Wizard, huh? But like, play along. If it got that, then Lucifer would be a lot more viable. However, any of you who have tried out Lucifer in a Knight deck will have reached the exact same conclusion I did. Oh, this is kind of bad. I never get to play this. Why am I wasting my card space on it? So that's no. Trickster is the exact same problem. Although in Trickster, it's even more difficult because you have to have only played level 0s, and the best Trickster decks at the moment are not going to do that. This is stuff like Trickster Burn, Trickster Supernatural. Those are like decks that are actually going to take advantage of it. Trickster Burn does play Atlas, but you are playing level 1s like Madam Duchess. Or like the level 1 that you play as an instant timing to deal 2 damage to something to the zombie. That's the sort of thing you're playing, right? Or you're playing your blaster cannons and such, right? You're typically not only playing level 0s. And, the reason for that is also quite clear. You want to take advantage of your energy. And yes, you can have turns where you only play level 0s, but it requires a lot more setup. And let's also not forget a card that exists, Embrace of Eons. And as insane as Lucifer is, a lot of the time, Embrace of Eons can functionally do the job you need it to do a lot of the time. Like, if you really consider the situations when Lucifer is insane, that's when your opponent has a board, right? So, like 2 units at least. And they've attacked with one of the units, or ideally they've attacked with their ruler or something, and you don't have anything in defensive, right? Like, that's like the scenario where it's going to be insane if you can play a Lucifer and you have something to enhance into it. So you get to wipe both your opponent's units and you get to maintain a defender. How often does that happen? Actually, not that often. A lot of the time, your opponent can just be smart. They can clear the thing that's going to have defender, so you're going to be all right, fine. Well, I guess I'm not going to get as much value out of this or whatever it may be. But the point there is essentially that it's very difficult for Lucifer to come in and like have that massive impact because it requires your opponent to basically be set up, right? And what decks will randomly go from 0 to set up? Well, it's drive decks, right? Like it's Apprentice, it's Highlander. Those are the decks that will randomly shit out a full board. Those are the decks where this is insane against. I'm coming back to this. I will come back, but like that's typically where it's super super nuts. So actually, if you play it in Trickster, a lot of the time you're not getting that much value out of it, and actually you would get a similar amount of value, arguably sometimes even more value from something like Embrace of Eons, because it's also an ability nullifier. So your opponent can, like, if you're playing against Genesis Summon or you're playing against Abyss Summon or something, right, you can nullify the abilities so they don't get to do the summon. And that's functionally doing the same thing. And actually, Lucifer's, you're often forced to play Lucifer in an optimal time against things like Darkness, because all their shit is like 7/7. So Lucifer isn't good against Darkness anyway, in that sense, especially compared to the investment you're putting into it. Overlord, in theory it's good because it only costs 1, but when you consider the fact that you play a lot of draw spells typically in Overlord, so you want to be playing one of those per turn, plus you want to use your full summon cap, you're not always going to have that energy available, but you're playing into it, you're assuming it is. The bigger issue is you only have 60 levels in Overlord, and let me tell you, giving 8 to just 2 copies of Overlord, to 2 copies of Lucifer, actually really hurts. And a lot of the time you'll be building and you'll be going like, oh, this is so tough. I really do think that my deck will just be more consistent and it will do the thing more often if I just don't bother playing Lucifer. And a lot of the time my Overlord decks have just been like, well, I mean, Lucifer's cool, but I could play 1 Lucifer, or I could play 4 copies of Cheshire Cat, and that's 4 defenders. And I'm going to be creating a huge amount of value, so is that, the end of the world? I'm just saying, You know, it's very much thing. Like I think Overlord is definitely the easiest sell with Wizard exception in terms of playing it, but you know, it's still not super amazing. Legion has the exact same issue that Knights does, where it's in terms of the flow, it doesn't really work, and it's even worse in Legion because like it's so RNG focused that there's zero consistency at all. So like it's really not worth it. You want to be playing high impact things in like the situations when you're actually going to have the energy available, and Lucifer's going to be high impact. It's so astronomically low that it's genuinely not worth the space. So what does that leave us with? Well, it only leaves us with one hand ruler, Wizard. And to me, I think that Lucifer is less of a holy shit, this card is insane, broken, and everything. It's a card that Wizard has built around and has created an engine to abuse it. And this is a yellow-blue deck. And the reason this deck works is because of a yellow card. And I'm telling you right now, this deck would be nowhere near as good if it wasn't for Aras. And personally, I think Aras should be errated to say only your opponent's effect damage. Because the thing you do right now is, as soon as you get your Aras set up, you are immune to effect damage. You're always going to have 2 energy available on the opponent's turn, so you just need to draw the Lucifer. And you can play a card called Skull Butler in English, or Skull, it's called Skull Bitch in Japanese, Lamau, which directly searches the Lucifer. So you're always going to have the Lucifer. You have 8 copies essentially, so you're always getting it. You're always going to have the 2 energy to play it. So it's the second you get your Aras down, it's game over. Because you play your Lucifer, none of your units take damage, all your opponent's units take damage, and at that point it's basically impossible to ever come back from that, because you'll do that on one opponent's battle phase, and now you can start setting up like all your other disruption or anything else you need to basically like stop your opponent from ever being able to build anything and come back from that. That being said, the deck is still very fragile because it needs to get that set up. So if you can kill it in that initial bit, then it doesn't matter. If they can't get that set up, then they can't get that set up. It doesn't matter, right? And I think this is going to lead. I think the meta does need to see more things like giant killing just being a hard main deck. Like Trickster, I think is such a hard counter to this deck, because already you can play Trickster Burn, and then you can also like just main deck giant killing cards, which you just hold in your hand, and the moment your opponent goes, okay, I'm going to play Aras, you go, all right, cool, pop it, and they're like, well, shit, I guess I'll die. There's, they can't do anything. And then Lucifer becomes like, it's still insanely strong, but bearing in mind that Wizard really doesn't have a massive damage output, that, it's much easier to manage. So, what's the point of this rambly video? The point of this rambly video is to say, 1, I don't think Lucifer is that good. And flame me in the comments, feel free. I'm fully aware, look, I've been on the receiving end of the bullshit, okay? But, like, look, Lucifer as a card has actually not been that bad, right? Like it's kind of been fine, right? Like it's been a powerhouse, sure, but let's be real here. It was only ever super good in Wizard and pretty good in Overlord sometimes. It's a Wizard card for a specific deck that is built around abusing it, and in that deck, it's nuts. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely nuts. I have a lot of fun playing online my proxied Alice yellow deck, because it's pretty cool when you just slam your Aras down and you're also playing your Alice stuff, and you can just go like, wee ha, I have my Alice and I can keep calling things, and also I can just slam down my thingy the moment I get my Aras set up, and then you're screwed. That can be fun. It gives you two shitty win cons to work towards instead of just one. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Have I made a grand return just to get roasted? Let me know. Like the video if you think I'm not full of shit. Dislike the video if you think I am. I don't care, because dislike counts don't show anymore. Yay! Thank you, Sandal, my Sim and Love supporter. If you want to help support the channel, you can use my affiliate link in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video, which will be coming, and it'll probably be a separate video. I'm back now, mostly. I still have other stuff going on, but I've got time to record some videos. Alright, cheers.